Welcome to Passionate World Talk Radio. Educate, enlighten, entertain.
This show does not provide medical advice. If you're having a medical emergency, please call 911. Anything you hear here should be discussed with your primary healthcare provider. Hello and welcome to Everyone Dies, the radio show produced by Passionate World Talk Radio, whose goal it is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. I'm Marian Nasso, and for the next 30 minutes, I am your host. Today we're talking with Mike Ward, and Mike Ward is a singer-songwriter, lives in Detroit, and he's kind of really started his journey as producing records, putting out records. I don't know what even the correct term is, Mike. About age 60, is that right, Mike?
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, Mike, thank you for joining. Thanks for joining our show. And so you were saying that your kind of first album was just sort of home songs that your kids published for you in 2014? Yeah.
So over the years, I've been playing guitar and been writing songs since I was about 18. And I've done some playing out and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but a career in advertising and raising kids, I put that on the back burner. But my kids knew of my music, and when I turned 60, they took a bunch of my home demos and one song that was sort of produced, and they found an independent publisher and put it up on iTunes and Spotify, and it was really interesting to see the response. And then also, sort of, I knew I was going to retire in a couple of years. So myself and my wife, Angie, we sort of set a plan. We started to connect with the music world more, and we started, basically diving in and preparing to produce more music. And since then, I produced one album in 2018, and then am releasing my second full record in January.
So the new record, probably we could call it the second sort of professionally produced record, is called The Darkness and the Light. It's an album with some really great songs on it that I was fortunate enough that Mike sent me that I could listen to. And Mike kind of really writes about, coming to terms with aging, loss, death, families. And one of the songs I was listening to yesterday is called A Little Farther Down the Road. And I couldn't help myself, Mike. I was writing down some of the lyrics. One of them was looking forward to no longer looking back. Can you tell us about writing that song and what it's about to you?
Well, it is about that sort of, that the road behind you is much longer than the road ahead. My dad lived to the age 95, so even if I make it there, that's 29 years from now, if I'm fortunate enough. So, that means 2/3 of that time has already passed. And I just started sort of looking at, how do you do that? How do you look forward still, but always with an eye to where you've been? Mm-hmm. And a lot of my early influence was Irish music. And Irish music has a lot of reference to, within the same song, you could be laughing and you could be crying. And there's a lot of sort of homage to those that have passed. And I've always had a strong connection to that type of music. So when I wrote this, it had a definite, I was definitely taking a look back at my life, but then also with, the thought of what do I want to see going forward?
And what did you decide? What are some of the things that you do want to see going forward?
Well, for me going forward, I want to be able to produce more music, and I want to be able to continue to explore this avenue even deeper. I feel like this is sort of a lighter-hearted way to get to it, a little farther down the road, that I'm on. It's from my point of view. I think what I've tried to do over the last year, because most of these songs were written in 2018 and 2019. In 2020, with everything we've been facing, I feel like I've even dived deeper into this realm. So, not that, I also, on one hand, write a lot of humorous songs and I write a lot of political songs. So I balance what I'm doing. I think if I only wrote about this subject, I probably would tire of it or put down my guitar at a certain point and say, I think I need to go for a walk and lighten up. But, it's definitely, I think a lot about my siblings and my parents who have passed, and I, not that I dwell on it, but I guess I have a curiosity about it that, makes, I think that drives some of these songs.
There's a line in that song where you say, "You wish winter could turn back into fall." Do you ever think about, like, if winter could turn back into fall, what you would do differently, or would you do anything differently?
Boy, I think that's a question I haven't really wrestled with a lot. I think it's a wish that I have that I, could go back and undo some things that I've done that I bury deep inside and go, those were foolish times, and those were foolish things to do, even dangerous things to do. I think on a whole, I don't know that I could pinpoint things that I would change other than specific events that, either caused somebody else hurt or showed my weakness and wish that I had been stronger in those times. And I think that's the biggest thing for me.
And I think for part of the human condition, that's part of growing up. I mean, we're supposed to do stupid things. We're supposed to make bad choices. We don't come out with, obviously knowing now what you didn't know then, or whatever that line is. There's a Twilight Zone episode. I don't know if you remember that one, called "Kick the Can." Do you remember that one?
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Where just for the listeners, where there's a group of people, old people in a nursing home, and this stranger, of course, arrives and says, "You want to play kick the can?" He says, "If you play, you can go back. You go back to your youth." And so they play, and they become children, and they can run, and they can move, and they can climb, and they can do everything they did as young people. And he says to them, "If you want, you can stay and be a young person, and you can live your life over again." And it's very poignant as they sit and they talk about that, and they think, well, but then I'd have to see my mother die again. Well, then I'd have to bury my husband. Then I'd have to go through these hard times. And they say, all but one says, "No, I'm going to stay my own age. This was fun. It's fun to be a kid for a while, but I'm going to go back to my old age." And that's why I was asking you about that. Is like, would you really want to go back, or is it just some isolated things that you'd say, "I wish I made a better choice there"?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter. you know, in terms of, I can't imagine, you know, for me, the want to go back and relive exuberant moments, you know, that would be great, you know. But my dad was a amateur photographer and chronicled our childhood and our adulthood, even shot on 16 millimeter film. So I feel like those joyous times are well chronicled. So, but the things that aren't, you know, that are never chronicled, are those heartbreaking times, or those choices you made that you wish you could undo. Nobody took a picture of those, right. Unless, of course, nowadays they take pictures of everything. So people are going to have every moment of their lives chronicled, including the bad parts these days. Right.
So, can you play some of the song? It's called A Little Farther Down the Road.
I'll do the middle of the song because, you know, the album is called The Darkness and the Light, but there's no song that's titled that on the record. But the title is actually in this verse, but it also is the examination of you know, kind of the body of work that is on this record. So, but here's the middle part of A Little Farther Down the Road. Little farther down the road I'm on, little farther down the way the wrong and right, the darkness and the light, little farther down the road. I try to do good things because I've done some bad, left some tears behind along this broken path. I have no bucket list, no longer a clenched fist, looking forward to no longer looking back. Down the road a piece, oh, down the road a while, one foot in front of the other, mile after mile. Down the road we move, oh, down the road we go, with a lifetime's worth of baggage behind us still in tow. When all the flowers have been dried and pressed, and the world has not heard my last breath, I'll look back on it all, wishing winter could turn back into fall. Just once more before I lay me down near my final rest. So that's not the end of the song, but it goes into a little farther down the road chorus again. But those are, that's sort of the examination of you know, we keep moving forward, we keep rolling on no matter what, but you know, there is part of us that's always looking back.
Right.
At least for me.
Well, I think for all of us is that we're, you know, I guess our heads swivel for a reason, is that because we're looking to where we're going, but we carry a lot of stuff with us on that journey too. Yeah. Now, the other song I listened to was one called Content. Is that right? And
it's actually Content, which is
Content. I'm sorry.
That does change the.
It does change.
I've actually, you know, I didn't even think about that until about 3 or 4 months, about almost a year ago. I played that at a songwriter showcase, and had was accompanied by a bass player and another singer, and the bass player, when until he actually listened to the song, that's what he thought. He thought it was Content, and he was thinking, oh, this is about social content or whatever.
Wow, I'm glad we cleared that one up, right?
But
yeah.
The way I usually introduce this song is that it's less about being content in your world today, and more about, will you be content with how you're viewed when you're gone? And that's,
so is that like the Hamilton "Who Will Write Your Story" kind of thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's one line in there that I was reading. It said, "Are you going to leave this world
completely content?"
Completely content. Well, the reason I stopped is I couldn't read my handwriting. So it's like, well, what does that say there? So are you going to leave this world completely content? Do you think people do?
I think there are. I mean, I think that I have to believe that when Jimmy Carter leaves this earth, he's going to be very content because he's lived his life, the same, all the way through his life. And look, would I regret not living past today? I definitely would, because I feel I have more to do. But I believe that I would be content with what I've been able to accomplish. The line before it kind of leads into that, which is, but when you're all by yourself and the money's all spent, are you going to leave this world completely content? So it's measuring the things we want versus the things we need. There's a certain amount of regret within the folded into the verses of this song, and some of it is tongue in cheek, and some of it is true regret. And this is a song I tried to play more with language and try not to let it be overly heavy all the time, but I felt like those last two lines of the chorus are really what I'm leading to.
I wonder if my experience in working with people who've been seriously ill and working as a hospice nurse and being at many bedsides when my patients have died, is it always strikes me that people are surprised that they're actually really going to die. And I don't know if that's just part of our American culture, that's saying that, Americans see death as optional, or if it's the human condition just in general. But my understanding in teaching around the world and talking with other people is that it seems as though it's an American thing. Like, I've had patients in hospice who will be like, is this it? Is this, am I really dying?
Yeah. Is this where I'm going to lay? Is this my last posture here? Right. Yeah. And then you think about all those who didn't really have that choice to even think about.
Right.
Our first in our family, our first brush with death was my brother Paul at age 16, the day after Christmas in 1965, was killed in a car accident.
Oh.
And it was a, it's more of a shocking thing, and I'm sure he had no time to think beyond them doing donuts on the road and playing in the snow, to realize, oh, this is going to be Paul's last moment,
Right. And so,
versus
we have this, our tagline. It's not just a tagline to me. It's how I live my life. Is that we say every day is a gift, because I see so many people who just believe life will go forever. And I think when you work in, do the work that I do, you know it doesn't, and that any time, any minute can be the last minute. I mean, things happen so incredibly weirdly, suddenly that we don't always get a chance to say goodbye and to say I love you and to be forgiven for the dumb stuff we did. And if we at least acknowledge that we're mortal and that, every time you say goodbye when someone's going out the door, that be that moment. So you don't have to wonder, did they know I loved them? Did they know how important they were? I mean, even if we could make that change in our lives, seems like that would make a difference in how we, put one step in front of the other every day.
Yeah, I agree. My dad lived to be 95, and one of the things around age 90 that, he relayed to me was just, the way somebody gets to that age is not just about their physical health. It's not about whether their body will make it, but it's about whether their mind will make it and how they are able to deal with loss. Mm-hmm. Because by the time you reach 90, you've probably lost all of your friends who, you've known in your life, probably some of your kids, probably a wife. You've lost some real important pieces of your life. Right. And to learn how to, and my dad didn't put things away. He didn't necessarily, it's not an ignoring things. He kept letters and he kept cards from people over the years, and he would reread them. He would kind of revisit that correspondence, and that is one of the big things that gave him comfort. And it's actually in one of the other songs I sent you that will be on a whatever record I do next. There's a song about wrestling with ghosts that came out of conversations with my dad in the last few years of his life. And I think we talked about, even just having an interview, just talking about that one, because I found that one to be just so incredibly poignant. Yeah. Yeah. There's a line in this song, Content. I'm about to get going, but I think it's time to stop. What were you thinking when you wrote that? Well, I think as somebody who sort of got a late start on songwriting and kind of in the music end of it, that was sort of like, and I've begun teaching a little bit, and, it's sort of like people would say to me, wow, you're pretty busy for a retiree. Well, for me, I feel like I'm kind of about to get going. I'm just starting down this road, and we talked previously about what would you do if you could go back. I think one of the things I would do is make more music connections and be more outgoing about sharing or learning about songwriting and learning from others and joining with. But it's like I'm about to get going, but I think it's time to stop. Is sort of that recognition that this time will be this time could be short, and you just don't know.
And I think that is actually a good, for people who listen to your album. I think it's a good thing to even remember, is that we, as I've said before, we think we have forever, but we don't know.
No,
so sort of like make the most of every day that you can. Can you play some of us? Play us some of Content?
I will. I think I'm going to pull from the middle of the song. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to start with the chorus. Simple life in a I guess I should know how to jump into it like that. I'm just going to start with the second verse because that's easy.
Okay.
Used to sit in a cube trying to think out of the box. If I only knew more about bonds and stocks. I'm on the fence between the future and the past. Watching time pass slowly, but I think it's gaining fast. Sometimes I wish that I had smoked more dope, read more books, and maybe used less soap. Gone to sleep later, planted more trees, learned a language to say fromage instead of cheese. It's a simple life in a complex world. Want what's mine and you want what's yours. But when you're all by yourself and the money's all spent, are you gonna leave this world completely content? Whether it's a paradox or a paradigm, a pair of twos or a pair of nines, a full house beats three kings every single time, and close only counts in shuffleboard and landmines. Is it possible to hate the very thing you love? Possible to be full yet never get enough? Am I on the bottom while I'm climbing to the top? I'm about to get going, but I think it's time to stop. It's a simple life in a complex world. I want what's mine and you want what's yours. But when you're all by yourself and the money's all spent, are you gonna leave this world completely content?
That is wonderful. So if people want to get your album, it's called The Darkness and the Light by Mike Ward, and it's released on the 26th of January. How do people go about getting it?
So I think the best way is my website is psychosongs.com. And Psychosongs is spelled Psychosongs. Psychosongs, I had an experience early on Spotify with the first thing that I published, where there were there's a bunch of other Mike Wards out there, some in comedy, some in singing, and there was mix-ups with their music on my page, my music on their page. So I attached. Psychosongs had always been what I copyrighted my material under, and my nickname is Psycho Ward. And that's for another time. Anyway, it just fit. So Psychosongs became the publishing part, and so on this record I've attached it even stronger. I've released it as Mike Ward Psychosongs so that I can avoid that mix-up. But it still happened because I created a YouTube channel, and on my YouTube channel right now sits some material that's not mine, and we're working that out with YouTube and with CD Baby right now, how to separate that material.
Mm-hmm.
But so psychosongs.com has music on it. It also has a way to purchase music. It has links to Spotify. It has links to all my social media aspects, and it has a way to contact me.
Right.
The new music, I'm on Spotify. My old music and the new music will be on Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Music, Google, Amazon, and a whole bunch of other places. And then if somebody would like a physical CD, there's a way to get it through the website.
Okay. And with the blog for the show, I'll include all of the addresses so that our listeners can find you and download your music and hear more of your work. I really appreciate you, Mike, taking the time to talk with us, and I want to thank our listeners for spending time with us during this show, Everyone Dies. You can read our blogs and listen to our other podcasts at everyonedies.org. Thank you to our producer, Jeannie White, and CEO, Lillian Caldwell. We produce a new show every Wednesday to answer questions related to life-threatening illness, dying, and death. Remember, you can listen to Passionate World Talk Radio on Spreaker and our shows wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have a topic you'd like to discuss on our show, please email Marianne at everyonedies.org. That's MARIANNE at EVERY1dies.org. I hope that you live your best life every day, and remember, every day is a gift. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Passionate World Talk Radio. You can listen to this program all over again by going over to https://passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can also hear it on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Alexa, AMFM247.com every Tuesday evening between 8 and 9 p.m. YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, and all the other podcast directories one can find on the Internet.